Welcome to Wrestling's Hottest Audacious Takes, hosted by myself, Aaron Rift of NoDQ.com. In this video series, I read some of your boldest opinions about professional wrestling, and then I give my responses. Let's take a look at today's topics. WWE is a shitty product right now. It's the worst it's ever been, and if they don't tighten up, they are going to be in trouble. Hamp, I think I have to disagree with you on this one. WWE is far from the worst it's ever been in 2025. 1994, hello, 1995, 1993, that whole period, maybe a good part of the early 2000s after the Attitude Era ended. WWE is a well-oiled machine, no doubt about it. And there are times where it feels like WWE is following a formula and they don't change things up a lot. They stick to what works. But I think that in the ring, WWE is maybe the best it's ever been. Creatively, they have their good times and sometimes they have their not so good times. It's a mixed bag, but ultimately when you have a weekly television show, and 3 of them at that, between Raw, Smackdown, and NXT, it's hard to come up with new ideas and keep things fresh. Believe me, they're always trying to come up with new ideas and see what works and what doesn't, but at the end of the day, they are a business and they have to stick to what works. Shawn Michaels had a much better career than Bret Hart, and Bret is bitter about it. I would say you're correct about Shawn Michaels having a better career than Bret Hart, but the main reason for that is Shawn Michaels had the longevity that Bret wasn't able to have because Bret suffered a career-ending injury at the hands of Bill Goldberg. If Bret is bitter about anything, it's the fact that his career was cut short before he wanted to finish it up. Shawn Michaels, one of the best of all time. If you compare them during the 90s, I think they're very equally matched. Bret Hart was the top guy for several years. Shawn Michaels was the top guy for several years. They both had their runs, and I think both of them were very important to the progression of the wrestling industry during the 1990s. Hot take. We need more companies like AEW. If all we had was WWE, wrestling would be so boring. I do agree with you on that. Wrestling needs competition to keep things interesting and to keep people and companies producing the absolute best content possible. When WWE was essentially a monopoly, it did get boring. It was hard to be a fan at times because WWE was essentially the only option. You did have the rise of TNA and you had some independents. They weren't as easy to find like they are today. In this era, you can go online, you can find on-demand video footage of just about any wrestling promotion in the world. You can look up local indies. It's easy to access whatever type of wrestling you're a fan of. We absolutely need more companies like AEW. The more competition, the better for the industry, and the more options that fans and wrestlers, for that matter, will have. The IWC is in the worst shape ever. 10 to 15 years ago, it was easy to come together and call out the bad booking. Nowadays, people nitpick everything to death. Daniel Bryan was 100% accurate calling the fans fickle. I agree with you on the fickle part. The fans definitely have a tendency to be fickle. Vince McMahon once said that the fans don't really know what they want, and that's why he has to dictate what they want. He has a point, but at the same time, you do need to listen to fan feedback. The fans will tell you what's working, what's not working. I do agree with you though, and as far as the IWC goes, I could certainly make that argument as well, that it is the worst it's ever been. As somebody who's been around since the early days of the internet, when there were still news groups, if anybody remembers those, it has changed a lot. And what has happened is more people have a voice now than ever before. That's good, and it's also bad. Part of the problem is people can say things without any repercussions. They can use an avatar, use a fake name, and say whatever the hell they want. The trolling is definitely at a higher level than it's ever been, and that's the downside to it. But I do think it's important to listen to the people that actually provide constructive feedback. The 60-minute Iron Man match should return, and people should stop whining about a match like that being boring. Take some ADHD meds and learn to let a story unfold, especially in the realm of WWE. Instant gratification isn't healthy. I am fine with 60-minute Iron Man matches every now and then, as long as you can keep it interesting. Now, the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels Iron Man match, this is my own hot take. I think the match was boring until the last 15 minutes. I like the Iron Man matches where you have a lot of falls and it's a bit unpredictable and you're not sure what's going to happen next. The problem with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels was that they were both so evenly matched in the storyline that nobody could get a fall in the whole hour. And that did work to a degree, but to me as a viewer, I did not have much interest in it until the last 15 minutes. It just depends on what you do in the match to keep it interesting and keep people guessing as to what's going to happen next. MJF and Bryan Danielson had a fantastic Iron Man match, and there have been some really good ones. Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar was another one that I very much enjoyed. And even Triple H versus The Rock, they had a great Iron Man match as well. There's definitely some solid ones out there, and I don't mind seeing them every now and then. Wrestlers maintaining kayfabe outside of the confines of the wrestling show and fans supporting that kind of commitment makes wrestling look corny and the fans look like idiots. Listen, I think the wrestlers should do whatever they want. Some of them do have the old school mentality of trying to protect the business and not reveal all the secrets. And I think that's really the key. Obviously, fans are smart to the business today more than ever. They know the ins and outs. They get the inside information from wrestling sites and shoot interviews. However, I do think that sometimes the curtain is pulled back a bit too much. The magic tricks you watch on television are not as fun when you know the trick. What's fun about it is when you watch a trick and you wonder, how the hell did they do that? Same thing with wrestling. I like the fact that some wrestlers want to keep fans guessing. Was this real? Was this scripted? What's going on here? That's the art in wrestling, is trying to keep fans guessing and make it so they can suspend disbelief and actually believe what they're watching is legitimate, even if it's just for a brief moment. In hindsight, Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat did dramatically more damage than good for professional wrestling. Calling it in the ring is more important than choreographed spots. I disagree with this one because I think there's more than one right way to do something, especially in an art form like professional wrestling. To me, that match was way ahead of its time, very exciting to watch. The problem is not their match, it's the fact that now every single match has to be like that. Everybody's going out there doing near fall after near fall, and when it gets too predictable and too overdone, that is what hurts professional wrestling. The key is to use things and concepts in moderation, not relying on near falls for every single match. It's fine to do a match like Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat. It's also fine to do a match like Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. Two larger-than-life personalities. The wrestling might not be the best, but you're watching it because of the star power. It just depends on what you're interested in. And also, I think it's important to keep a balance and try different things and not rely on the same concept over and over again. That concludes this edition of Wrestling's Most Audacious Takes. What were your thoughts on these opinions? Leave a comment and subscribe to the No DQ YouTube channel for the latest wrestling news and discussion.